Talk to me.
Talking to you.
Are we ready
Paul and
to go? Nancy.
Potaro. Hello.
Buongiorno America.
Okay, can we start over? You could do that, but I wasn't ready for it. You were going to start. We just didn't plan who was going to start. We were going to start.
What am I going to start with?
Buongiorno America.
Ah, okay. Tell me when we're ready to start. Buongiorno America. Qui siamo nel cucino di Paolo and Nancy. This is Pasta Sunday, and my daughter Danielle is recording some of our favorite recipes. And today we are going to do porcini with cream sauce. And very quickly, we're going to go through the ingredients that are needed. We're going to make it we generally make it for about a pound of pasta, even if it's just the two of us, because we will eat it. And if we don't eat it, you'll eat it the next day, correct?
Correct.
Yes, see. So anyway, we start with porcini. We'll go through the quantity. These are dried porcini, by the way. We have salt, we need obviously. We have a little bit of butter that we put in. We have one entire onion. I use about 2 decent sized cloves of garlic, some parsley, some heavy whipping cream, tomatoes. This is the tricky part here, because the tomatoes, we have been doing all these years with Hunt's diced tomatoes, which are a lot less expensive, but lately we've fallen in love with the San Marzano tomatoes, which are, when you get San Marzano, it has to have DOP on it, which is the best of the San Marzanos. They're whole tomatoes, you crush them with your hands, but they cost about $4 a can, whereas the Hunt's cost about $2 a can, roughly. It's the bigger of the cans. But we're gonna, because I'm gonna make actually a little bit extra today, because our daughter's gonna take some home with her. So we're gonna use 3 cans of that. This thing, don't let it scare you. This is pepperoncini from Italy. You don't have to put this in. It just gives a little bit of a bite to it. And we'll put in 1 small one. And then we need about 2 glasses of white wine. 1 is for the pasta and 1 is for me. Oh! Okay. So I'm going to lay out the ingredients now, and you'll pause the camera and we'll get out the pasta, we'll get everything ready, and then we'll show you what we do, okay?
Okay.
Arrivederci.
Ciao.
Yeah, I know you're laughing at me. I hear you. What was that?
Nothing else.
You're being gross, I'm sure.
And we're back. What we're doing right now is the mushrooms. I do about 1 handful per can of tomatoes, excuse me. One thing I also forgot, olive oil, very important. But I usually do for each can, roughly 1 handful, a little bit over that. We measured out, it's gonna be just roughly about a cup or so. And when you get the quantity that you need, what I have off to the side here, which you can or cannot see, and I'll tell you where you can get these also. But this is warm water. I like to do a little bit more than warm, but anyway, you take the dry mushrooms, you throw them in there. That's really the first thing you want to do, because they need to soak for about 15 minutes or so, maybe 20 minutes. And you know, this is just doing it from years. I never really got the measurements. We try not to put plastic inside of our cooking, but it does make for a nice earring for your wife. So, we'll put that back with the food. Yeah, I might go a little bit more. I might go a little bit, say 4 cups. 4 cups of dry mushroom. But that's just because I like the flavor more. So, these mushrooms here we get, if you know somebody who has a membership over Restaurant Depot, you get a big quantity of this. This costs about $20, $21 for a big thing like this. If you go get the packets, you're going to spend a fortune. So see if you can find somebody. If not, let me know and I will see if we get it. For Potaro family, Aunt Mary has access to this and she gets it for us all the time. So once it's in the water, what you want to do is you want to submerge it and rub it a little bit, because there's some grit that might be on there. And this has got to go till it softens up quite a bit. And they soften up relatively quick, but I say usually about 20 minutes is a good amount of time. So by the time you get everything chopped up, etc., this is usually pretty much ready to go. If you don't do this, if you don't rub them a little bit as you're going through it, the grit will stay on there and you'll taste it when you're eating it. When you're done with this, you drain the water, you'll see a bunch of grit on the bottom of the bowl. My sous chef Nancy could be doing this, but
You're the expert.
right now I need her to stand here and look pretty. So, get into the tomatoes now while that's going. Just real quick to show, these are the San Marzano whole tomatoes. And again, we put them into the bucket here. You might want to take a close-up to see what they look like. Oh, you know what? You want to taste these too to see which one is better, which one you like better. This is just something for us personally to see which brand we like better. But what you do with these, roll up your sleeves a little bit, squeeze slowly, because if you squeeze fast, they're going to squirt all over you. And you crush them with your hand. Very important. Flavoring comes from what you have on your hand. So.
Gross.
No, we don't say gross in Spanish. We say gustoso.
Gustoso.
Okay. Which one do you like better? We'll be back in a couple days with the answer.
It takes a minute to discern.
She's discerning.
These are sweeter.
I kind of figured. Okay. Well, with this, with
Nothing
the
wrong with those, are great. But
with the
this
gaga that we
one's a
put,
little
with all the
sweeter.
gaga we put in here, this is will come out fine anyway.
Of course.
I'll take that other one. Thank you.
I was gonna get your spatula just in case I need to.
Okay. That's great. What do I use it for? Oh, to clean out the can. That's what you could be doing. So again, going
Chef
through it, you want to get
Paul.
all of them, you want to squish them up a little bit. Feels good. Just kidding. Periodically, you want to go back to the mushrooms and just rub them off again a little bit as more dirt may have loosened up off of that. When I say dirt, it's really, these are taken straight from the ground. So, as a matter of fact, in Italy, they actually have porcini pigs, which used to hunt them and they could smell them underground and they would pull them up.
What?
Yeah, when they go looking for the porcini in the hillsides, they're underground and pigs are trained to scent the porcini and they would go and sniff them out and the guys would go and dig them. That's why they kind of cost a lot of money because they're not easy to grab. But anyway,
The more you know.
this is just going to be
Excuse
more
me.
important are the fun facts that are going to come out of this conversation here. And I'm through with the squishing here. So, what I'm going to do now is we will shut down because we're going to chop up. We're going to chop up the garlic, the onion, the parsley is the very last thing we do, along with the cream. That's actually the very last thing we do. And we're going to get everything prepared to throw in the to start the cooking, and then it goes pretty quick once everything is in there. Okay?
All right.
Arrivederci.
Arrivederci.
Okay, so the amount of oil that we generally put in is enough to cover the bottom. Seems excessive, but it really is not. And plus olive oil is healthy for you. With that, I throw in then the onion and garlic, which is already chopped together. I use that little chopper thing, which we've had for about 150 years. And it's starting to burn out now, so I'm a little bit freaked out because I don't know where I'm going to find anything like it. It's been perfect for us. But it's one that's got a little pulse to it. And just keep hitting the thing and it'll chop it up nice and small without liquefying it. Not going too heavy. Okay, with that.
What's the purpose of the goggles you have on?
Oh, yeah, I could probably take those off now. The goggles, because my eyes are very sensitive to the onion, and I sit here and cry, And it's not because I'm that passionate about my cooking, but it's just because it hurts like heck. So.
And it looks cool.
And it looks cool. It's a little something I've created in the kitchen here, and it doesn't work 100%, but it definitely works better than what I was filming before. So, oh, there you are. All right, so I've got in here now, I've got olive oil, garlic, and butter with onions. Okay, we're gonna heat that up until they brown. If you were here, it smells good already.
Mm-hmm.
This is my weapon of choice. It's got holes in it because when I stir it, it doesn't splash on me quite as much as it normally does. So, okay. And we're back live. In the meantime, I go back periodically with the mushrooms. Is this fast? Are you doing the what
No.
and rub these down again a little bit more. And while I'm doing this, my Nancy chef, see, I got rid of Sue. She's gone. She's gone. My Nancy chef will get me a bowl.
Of what kind of bowl?
Okay, a bowl. Bowl just because I want to squeeze and put these in there. No. A regular soup bowl here.
Brown or white?
As you can tell, we've worked together in the kitchen for 37 years. Look at how fine-tuned machine we are. A bowl. What kind of bowl? All right. You take these out. Squeeze some of the water out of it. Leave them somewhat moist. No, don't scoop from the bottom. You don't want to pick them up, but I keep my fingers separated so that not too much garbage gets in there. I'll show you the water later on when I pour it out, and you will see just how much stuff has come off of here. As a matter of fact, enough of this comes off that it may make you look at it and say, hey, I ain't gonna eat this. All right. Extra water on the side, sometimes just for a little extra flavor. It needs just an extra little flavor. Rarely do I need to do that, but can't. Once I've thrown it out, it's no good anymore. So, what I do now is, my daughter Danielle likes bigger chunks, but I like to break it up just a little bit. So, I'll throw it out there on the board. I get one of my favorite kitchen tools of all time. It's called the Mezzaluna, half moon. And with this, just cut up some of the bigger pieces so they're still remaining sizable for my daughter, and yet enough to spread around to give the flavor throughout the sauce. And that's it. That's enough.
Enough now.
Enough for now. Love Actually. Yeah, well, I don't know if our fans did.
Just gotta fold it properly.
This isn't going to go any farther than the family, right, Danny?
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the sound of that. Mm-hmm.
Is this the one we should use?
Absolutely. Who got you that apron?
I did. But I bought it for her. She just won't wear it.
I just don't cook, so.
Self-proclaimed.
There I am. All right, if you want to come and take a look at the onions here a little bit.
We're coming.
Maybe you can see it better like this or not. Yeah. It's hot. The onions should cook until they start to get transparent. Once they're transparent, we're going to throw in the porcini. Oh, you know what I forgot? Did I throw the butter? I did that. I did throw it in.
Yes, for some.
I'll do some butter in the pan. Okay. think I did.
Smells so good.
Is this better?
Nah.
All right. Okay, our onions have started to get clear, so I'm going to move forward. Right now I've got the chopped up porcini. I'm going to throw it in there. These should cook for about maybe 3 minutes, 5 minutes sometimes. Stir it around, let the oil absorb the flavor, and that's really the key, is that the oil. That's why you kind of put in a little bit more oil than normal, but you want the oil to absorb the flavor of the mushrooms, the onions, the garlic, etc., and the butter. The gaga. Let it cook out for about, like I said, 3 to 5 minutes. So now we wait. Okay, so now the mushrooms have been cooking for about 3 to 5 minutes. I think they're good. We're going to add in our first cup of water, first cup of wine.
What kind of wine do you prefer?
Oh, yeah, I use Kim Crawford Sauvignon Blanc.
Kimmy
Sauvignon
C.
Blanc. Stir it now. With wine, for me, you let it cook until when you sniff it with your nose, it's going to clear your sinuses. Once the alcohol is boiled out, you'll know, because as you go back and try it periodically, it won't clear your sinuses anymore. In the meantime, you grab your second glass of wine, and you wait, and you drink. So.
What about your sous chef?
That's my Nancy chef. Would you like a glass of wine?
Sure it is.
The hell you will. All right. And the team is back. Ooh. The good thing about filming this thing, even if it doesn't turn out really good, we don't have to tell anybody that. We go, oh my God, this is the best.
I don't think there's been a plan that hasn't turned out the best.
Just a little history behind this recipe that we got actually in Italy was we went to a woman she was the verduraia, which is a vegetable lady, and we used to call her Valerie Verduraia. Remember?
It wasn't her name.
No, it wasn't her name. We called her that. So anyway, she had the recipe for this thing. She wanted to give it to us. She knew we were young Americans overseas, so she gave us a sheet of paper. So she gave us a sheet of paper, and all I had on it was just the ingredients: onions, mushrooms,
Onions, garlic, tomato, mushrooms.
burro, butter.
Butter. Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so Mom looked at it and said, it said salt in there. She goes, how much salt? And the woman said, how much salt do you like? Italians don't cook by measurement. Italians cook by taste, because every time you open up a can of tomatoes, sometimes they're sweeter than other times, sometimes they're not. The garlic may not be as fresh, whatever. You add and you go according to what you're tasting. You continuously taste as you're going through. Generally, Italians are already full by the time they're finished cooking the meal. So, all right, this already, if you just take onions and garlic and white wine along with the mushrooms and let it boil out, it gets creamy, and this in itself is even good to put on the top of meat if you're frying meat. I've done that in the past, and it's like good. Okay, it's still got a little bit coming through, but we're going to go with it. What am I missing? Tomatoes. Okay. Now we've got our crushed up tomatoes here. This is going to be a little bit tricky because this is a bigger bowl. Nancy Chef will get the spatula. While she's doing that, I'm going to pull out a pepperoncino just to show what the pepperoncini look like, and that we have. But we actually bought these in Italy. But you don't have to do this. You can get any kind of little red pepper if you want a little bite to it. Now, we don't throw all these in, but these are little bombers, so you gotta be careful. Mom does not like it real spicy, so I generally try and find the smallest one I can. Because there's a little bit more sauce in here, I'm gonna, well, it doesn't have to be the smallest, but this is the size of it. And this is dry, so it crumples in your fingers. Put it in like that.
Do not touch your eyes or your face.
Yeah, now another important thing to do is once you touch these little peppers, don't pick up the spoon, don't touch anything. Wash your hands immediately, because if you touch the spoon is gonna be, Okay, now I'm just gonna let it cook out. I rarely add any water to this, but what I will add is some salt. But
Sale.
it tastes already sweet. The salt brings out the flavor of the tomato. It enhances it a little bit. Right now I put a little bit just so it cooks a little bit, but I'm talking a little bit like this much.
Look at that.
This is good. Here, boy. Quanto buono. I don't put pepper in here. You don't put pepper when you make it, do you?
I don't.
Okay. Need my mustache off here. Okay, I'm gonna empty out the water. I'm not gonna use any of this water today because I think the sauce is gonna come out good enough. I just want to show you what a lot of times ends up on the bottom once you clean these mushrooms. So this is really not too bad. You can start to see it now. This is all sediment. This is all like dirt and stuff like that. Or as you can see on the bottom, I don't know if you can see it with the camera. But that's what you'd be crunching on.
Yuck.
Okay, now we just let this cook out for approximately an hour. I let it go. Depends. I just let it get down to a consistency. It tastes good. It's I think after an hour is enough time that it's already blended with the flavor. When that is done, we will put the pasta. We'll boil the pasta. Once the pasta is done, we will add just a couple of last ingredients, and that's going to be, we put the sauce in here, or we put the heavy whipping cream. We'll show you that later, but we put that into the sauce, and we chop up parsley. The parsley goes on the very last thing. So this goes into the sauce. So this sauce, which is red now, comes out to be a cream colored, comes out to be a little bit pinker, and it softens the tomatoey taste a little bit. But then that with the parsley at the end, and you're done. So it's very simple. We'll show you that in a little bit. We'll see you in an hour. I did my own time lapse. You noticed? That's what I do. Okay, and we're back. So now this has been cooking for about an hour or so. I've added in some salt afterward. Again, you salt it to taste. I'm going to add salt now to the water here. We're going to do a pound of pasta in here. You're about to get grossed out because this is what my mom taught me with the pasta, and this is what we've always done. I always pour it in my hand until it just about fills up my palm and throw it in. Boom. Now with that, the traditional Italian, as you look at a lot of these cooking shows, they show that they throw in about a bowl per person, and they'll do it like this. This is probably enough for one person because that expands. And we have two people eating, so this is what we do in the Pataro family. We do one, we do two, and then we do three. So we do about a pound with this thing. So we never stick to the rules of just one bowl per person. We generally have 2 or 3, and then if we happen to have Chris, Corey, and Jake over, then you know what? You need to make even more than that. So, all right, so while that's starting to cook, you give it a stir just to make sure it doesn't stick together, it doesn't stick to the bottom of the pan. In the meantime, give it a little stir. When the water starts to boil, it gets close to, when it starts to boil again, and it gets, after been cooking for about 5 or 10 minutes, these are penne, by the way. What we do is we capture some of the water from that, because that's always good to add to the sauce a little bit later, as it gets too thick. In the meantime, we'll move over here to the parsley. Now the parsley, a lot of times people pull the leaves, but I saw this guy, Chef, I can't remember his name now. The guy's good though, he's very good. He just says, you just grab a whole bunch like this and throw it out. Stems and all, don't be afraid. Danielle washed this for us, so don't get grossed out. And then...
Sous Chef Nancy did.
Oh, I'm sorry, Chef Nancy did. I'm sorry. Oh my God. Almost cost me a marriage, this thing here. Then what we do is we cut it with this. I use this because if you put it in that machine, it liquefies it, and that's just not good. It sticks together to everything. If you don't have one of these things, get one of these things. They're the best if you don't want to over chop anything.
Swipe up to shop. Nothing.
You see me going very fast, and you probably think this is time lapse, but no, this is me and my velocity.
Wow.
You're probably very impressed. This will go on very last thing after the sauces were mixed with the pasta, and then we throw this in afterward. And it adds a nice little flavor to it, but it also adds some nice color to it. And that's ready and waiting now to go into the pasta at the very end. In the meantime, after this has been cooking for several minutes, this is still going to be not anywhere near al dente. We would say this is al roche, which is more al rock. This gets cooked in a little bit more, and a lot more of the starch from the pasta goes into the water. Then I'm going to ladle out a cup of that and add that just to keep it on the side. When the pasta has about, I'd say about another 4 minutes, maybe even 5 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever, to go, that's when I put the cream inside the tomato sauce. This softens it up, it'll change the colors. You can see the color right now is kind of a dark red. And with this, just eyeball it as to how much I'm going to put in. Maybe half of a container for this amount. And stir it up. This will blend in. I don't put it in too soon because I don't want it to all boil out. Type things. I don't know if it does, but get it to the color and the taste that we want. This you get that kind of cream, that pink sauce. It's kind of like what you'll see with a vodka cream sauce also, but this is a porcini cream sauce, which to me is a lot better than a vodka cream sauce.
Que bella.
And meraviglioso. Okay, with a couple minutes left to go on the pasta, I take my 2.5 man cup, and I like to ladle out some of the starch water from that. And I'll use that if it comes out a little bit too dry once everything's mixed together. It's a nice thing just to add in. Even going to the sauce. Sometimes if the sauce is already getting a little bit too thick, I'll put it in there before I even add that, which I might even do now. Use a teaspoon only because I can't get the bigger spoon. This is good because it's got the starch in it, it's got some salt in there, so it's got flavor into it. It's not just regular water. The pasta almost done. What you do is, or what I like to do, I'm just checking to make sure it's Let's see where we're at with this thing. We like it al dente. It's pretty much, it's got a little bit more to go, but what we're gonna do is, I'm gonna lower this to put this on a low flame right now. And I'm gonna empty the water, but I'm gonna keep the flame on for right now. Clear it out. Leave a little bit of the water in the bottom. If there's any. Put it in here. The flame is still on. Give me 1 second. Oh, and let it cook and absorb in there. Kind of lost my Nancy chef here. I'm going to clean up some stuff. Just stir that. Okay. Again, you add the cream according to your liking. Depending on your taste, you may want to add a little bit of sauce at the end again, a little bit of salt at the end. But what we'll end up doing is we're going to add a little bit of water to it probably. It's a little bit dry. And that's some of the water that we'd already ladled out of the, scooped out of the
Look at that
boiling
technique.
water.
Look at her technique.
Yeah, I know. She's got
Kind
that
of
back.
folded in.
That's why I married her. The pasta will come to al dente inside the sauce, so it absorbs. This is taken in the last bit. A little bit more to go. What I'm going to do is add a little bit of water. The water in the cooking like this helps the sauce to adhere better to the noodles. Okay, I've been continuing to add a little bit of water because this thing is cooking out. I put the noodles in here probably a little bit sooner than I should have. They're still very hard, but I think we're right about there now. I'm going to turn the fire off. It was on very low flame. Now, I'm going to add the parsley. Nice color to it. When you taste it, it adds some nice flavoring to it. And for all practical purposes, we are now done. Now we serve it, we're going to add some sauce to it. Keep the water on the side in case this starts to boil. As you can see the steam coming up, it's going to get drier as we go along. And I use, what do I use? I use this to serve the pasta. And I'll use this to add some sauce. And I'll use this to bring it to the table. All right. That won't be a low for anything, right?
Right. Then we'll broadcast from Woodward.
Buon appetito! Yeah, it's good.
Or
It's excellent. And I say that because you can't taste it, so you can't question what we're eating.
Buon appetito.
Buon appetito! Arrivederci America! There's spit.